The Golden Legacy, a comprehensive history of the world's most precious metal. Chapter 1. The Mineralogical Origins of Gold. Ancient Scientific Perspectives, from Pliny to the Greek naturalists. The ancient world didn't see gold as just another element. To them, it was celestial, a piece of the heavens trapped in stone. The Greek naturalists believed the cosmos worked through four elements: earth, water, air, fire, all in harmony. And metals, they were born from this dance. Aristotle taught that metals formed from exhalations deep underground, moist and dry vapors trapped in darkness, slowly refining under immense pressure. Gold was different. It was the final perfection, the telos, the only metal that had cast off all earthly impurities, achieving eternal equilibrium. Then came Pliny the Elder. His encyclopedia, Naturalis Historia, elevated this philosophy into something closer to science. Mystical, yes, but rigorous. Pliny marveled at one fact above all others: gold is the only substance known to man that fire cannot consume. Other metals die in the furnace, they oxidize, they surrender to the flames. But gold, it emerges from the crucible with its weight undiminished, its brilliance enhanced. This was immortality made metal. Pliny documented everything: how gold produces no slag, no rust, how salt and vinegar, substances that corrode anything else, leave gold untouched. Gold existed outside the laws of decay. The ancients saw something else in gold: a kinship with the sun. The word chrysos was linked to Apollo, to radiant energy. They believed gold was congealed sunlight, deposited in the earth's veins by the sun's rays penetrating the soil. This wasn't poetry, this was their science. It explained why gold appeared in the burning zones of the south, Ethiopia, Upper Egypt. The sun's heat was literally cooking the rocks, turning common stone into precious yellow metal. The ancients also recognized gold's internal honesty. Before chemical tests existed, purity was judged by sound, the voice of gold when struck, and by scent, the breath when rubbed. Pure gold has no odor. Pliny described the trial by fire not just as refining, but as moral judgment, testing the metal's integrity. To the Roman mind, gold's homogeneity meant something profound: its ability to be beaten into impossibly thin leaves without breaking. This was a metaphor for its indomitable spirit. The ancients concluded something crucial: gold's value wasn't arbitrary, wasn't invented by humans. It was recognition of inherent divine properties, properties that defied the entropy of the natural world. 2. Physical and chemical properties: purity, malleability, and homogeneity. Gold became the cornerstone of civilization for one reason: its extraordinary physical and chemical composition. Unlike any other substance on Earth, gold possesses a combination of qualities that render it virtually indestructible, infinitely adaptable. At the heart of its value lies purity, resistance to time. Gold is absolutely free from corrosion. Iron rusts, silver tarnishes through oxidation, but gold remains entirely unaffected. After centuries of exposure to air, moisture, even the most impure environments, gold stays brilliant. This is chemical nobility. The gold extracted during the era of the pharaohs remains as bright today as the moment it was refined, a permanent repository of human labor and value. Now consider malleability and ductility. In its pure state, gold is nearly as soft as tin. It can be manipulated with miraculous ease. It is the most malleable of all metals. A single ounce of gold can be beaten into a leaf covering nearly 100 square feet, yet it remains continuous, unbroken. This allowed ancient artisans to gild massive statues and temple domes with minimal metal. The ductility is even more profound. A single grain of gold can be stretched into a wire several hundred feet long. For the minter, this matters enormously. Gold takes a fine impression from a die. The symbols of sovereign authority are recorded with razor-sharp clarity on every coin. Then there's homogeneity. Pure gold is uniform throughout its mass. Any two samples of the same weight and fineness are identical in value and substance. Compare this to other stores of value. A large diamond cut into 10 pieces loses aggregate value. A horse cannot be divided without destroying its utility. But gold possesses divisibility without loss. A nugget can be divided into microscopic fragments. Those fragments can be melted back together, the original form restored without any diminution in quality or mass. Perfect fungibility. One unit can be substituted for another without dispute. Gold's high specific gravity also plays a crucial role. Being one of the densest substances on Earth, it packs large value into small bulk. This high value-to-weight ratio made it ideal for international trade. When transportation was arduous and dangerous, a merchant could carry the wealth of a province in a small chest. Impossible with copper, difficult even with silver. Pure gold is too soft for circulation, though, so it's traditionally alloyed with a small fraction of copper or silver, usually 1/10 or 1/12. This addition provides necessary hardness, resists the wear and tear of the marketplace, while preserving the metal's intrinsic ring and luster. Ultimately, gold's value stems from its durability. Because it doesn't decay, the world's present supply is essentially the accumulation of the ages. The gold in our vaults today may have been mined in Lydia or Africa thousands of years ago. This chemical and physical permanence established gold as the ultimate anchor for the human economy. Gold never leaves the world stage once it's been introduced.
3. The archaeology of aurum, early identification and extraction. Gold was almost certainly the first metal to capture human imagination, preceding copper or iron by millennia. This primacy isn't due to early mastery of complex metallurgy. It's due to something simpler, something geological. Gold occurs in its native state, its metallic state. Most other metals remain locked in ores, disguised as dull rocks, requiring the transformative power of the furnace. But gold presents itself to the world in its finished, radiant form. The early identification of gold, aurum to the Latins and chrysos to the Greeks, was tied to its visual brilliance, discovered as glittering grains, water-worn pebbles in the beds of torrential streams. The word aurum connects to the glow of dawn, aurora, reflecting the ancient belief that gold was a physical manifestation of light. The earliest human contact with gold didn't involve deep shaft mining. It was collection, not extraction. This age of placer mining relied on the extreme density of the metal. Ancient peoples observed that when gold-bearing sands were washed by water, the heavy yellow flakes settled into riverbed crevices, while lighter quartz and sand were swept away. This natural concentration allowed even primitive societies to gather significant quantities, no specialized tools needed. One enduring archaeological legend, the Golden Fleece. Ancient miners in Colchis, modern-day Georgia, would submerge sheep fleeces in fast-flowing mountain streams carrying gold dust. The greasy wool acted as a natural filter, trapping heavy gold particles while water and silt passed through. Once saturated, the fleece was hung to dry and beaten to recover the golden crop. This ingenious method of sheepskin sluicing represents the dawn of mineral engineering. As civilizations matured, especially in the Nile Valley, the search moved from riverbeds to quartz veins in mountains. Archaeological excavations in the Nubian desert reveal some of the world's oldest mine workings. Ancient laborers used stone hammers and fire-setting techniques to crack stubborn rock. Fire setting involved heating the rock face with massive bonfires, then suddenly drenching it with cold water. The stone would shatter, expose the golden veins within. The scale of these operations indicates that gold extraction was the first industrial activity requiring massive logistical support, centralized state control, a specialized labor force. Gold's identification in the ancient world was linked to its social and sacred utility. Before it was ever minted into coin, gold manufactured the insignia of power. Archaeological finds from the Varna necropolis to the tombs of Ur demonstrate this. Gold was first fashioned into thin sheets, beads, and wire to adorn the bodies of priest kings, to decorate the altars of gods. The archaeology of Orem reveals a fundamental truth. Gold didn't become precious because it was used as money. It was used as money because its discovery had already established it as the most sacred substance on earth. 4. Geographical distribution in the ancient world. The history of ancient civilizations is, in many ways, a map of their access to gold. The unequal distribution of this metal created a world of haves and have-nots, dictated trade routes, and often served as the primary cause for imperial expansion. In the ancient consciousness, gold wasn't ubiquitous. It was a rare gift, concentrated in specific, remote zones of wealth. Egypt and the Nubian corridor. Egypt was the undisputed gold power of antiquity. The supremacy of the pharaohs was built on quartz veins of the eastern desert, and, more importantly, the vast deposits of Nubia. The very name Nubia derives from the ancient Egyptian word for gold, nub. Unlike alluvial gold of other regions, the Egyptian supply required organized industrial efforts, mines extending deep into sun-scorched mountains. This abundance allowed Egypt to use gold beyond commerce, as a diplomatic tool. Neighboring kings in Mesopotamia wrote to pharaohs pleading for gold, claiming it was as common as dust in Egypt. The rivers of Asia Minor. To the north and west, focus shifted to alluvial deposits of Asia Minor. The Pactolus River in Lydia became legendary for its golden sands, allegedly originating from the touch of King Midas. This region was crucial. Its gold was often found as electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. This geographical presence of this specific alloy in Lydian riverbeds directly led to the invention of coinage. The Lydians were first to develop methods to separate and standardize these metals, forever changing the global economy. The treasures of the Far East and India. Beyond the Mediterranean, the ancient world looked toward India with awe. Herodotus wrote of gold-digging ants in the Indian deserts, a tale likely referring to marmots throwing up gold-bearing soil while burrowing. The reality? India served as a massive sink for the world's gold. It possessed significant river gold, but more importantly, it was the destination for gold from the Aurea Chersonesus, the Golden Chersonese, the Malay Peninsula, a primary source for the Eastern Hemisphere's supply. The European frontier, Spain, and Dacia. As Rome transitioned from republic to empire, its hunger for gold led to conquest of the European frontier. Spain became the Roman Klondike. The mines of Las Medulas represent one of the most staggering engineering feats of the ancient world. Roman engineers used ruina montium, the wrecking of mountains, a primitive form of hydraulic mining, to wash away entire hillsides in search of gold. Later, the conquest of Dacia, modern-day Romania, by Trajan provided the empire with the final massive influx, estimated at over 160 tons. This stabilized Roman currency for a generation, funded the construction of Trajan's Forum. The geographical distribution of gold in the ancient world was the silent architect of geopolitics. From the scorched sands of Nubia to the rugged mountains of Dacia, the location of the yellow metal determined which cities would become metropolises, and which kings would become emperors. 5. Mystical virtues, gold in the eyes of ancient physicians and alchemists. Beyond counting houses and workshops, gold occupied a transcendental space in the ancient mind. It wasn't merely a noble metal, it was a bridge between the mundane and the divine. This mystical reverence was rooted in the concept of sympathy, the idea that a substance's properties could be transferred to those who possessed or consumed it. Because gold was immortal, refusing to decay or tarnish, ancient physicians and early alchemists reasoned it must hold the secret to biological longevity, to spiritual purity. In ancient medicine, gold was employed as a universal panacea. The logic was poetic and unscientific. If gold represented the highest state of material perfection, it must inherently possess the power to restore perfection to a diseased human body. Pliny and other naturalists record that gold was applied to skin to cure leprosy, or administered in pulverized form to treat various internal ailments. The consumption of aurum potable, potable gold, became a pursuit of royal physicians from Egypt to China. They believed that by liquefying the sun's brilliance, they could create an elixir granting the drinker the same immunity to time that the metal itself displayed. This medicinal pursuit was inextricably linked to the birth of alchemy. To early alchemists, the world was in constant becoming, and gold was the being. They viewed all other metals, lead, tin, copper, as sick or immature versions of gold. The alchemical laboratory wasn't just a place of chemical experimentation, it was a temple, where the practitioner sought to accelerate the natural evolution of matter. The search for the philosopher's stone was essentially the search for a catalyst that could purge the earthly dross from base metals, leaving behind the pure golden essence. This wasn't merely a quest for wealth, it was a spiritual allegory for the refinement of the human soul. Gold's mystical virtues were reflected in its use as a protective amulet. Ancient Greeks and Romans often placed gold leaves or coins in the mouths or over the eyes of the deceased, not only to pay the ferryman Charon, but to ensure that the incorruptible light of gold would protect the soul during its journey through the darkness of the underworld. Gold was seen as a fragment of the sun that had fallen to earth. Its presence was believed to ward off evil spirits, the evil eye, which were thought to be repelled by its solar radiance. Even the process of refining gold was viewed through a mystical lens. The trial by fire, where gold was purged of impurities in the crucible, became a universal metaphor for moral and spiritual testing. This deep-seated cultural belief in the virtue of gold ensured it remained at the pinnacle of the social hierarchy. Long before it became a tool of modern finance, gold was already the golden rule of the spiritual world, a symbol of an absolute, unchanging truth in a world of decay and transformation.